It's almost Halloween, and you know what that means. Time to watch some scary movies. Now we all know the classic horror films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or Night of the Living Dead, or Yentl. But there may be some that you have missed that are worth your while. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. This is my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, 2 films that would make excellent Halloween viewing. One is a classic slice of 50s sci-fi / horror. The other one is one of the creepiest films I've ever seen that was so disturbing it was even edited for American audiences. Let's check them out. Now, the first Halloween film I want to recommend to you is called Fiend Without a Face. This is from 1958. Beautiful black and white, and it's about 75 minutes long. And this is one of those 1950s science fiction / horror films that is a warning about us messing around with atomic energy and radiation and the disastrous things that could happen if we don't know what we're doing. So it involves a professor who is working on making his mental thoughts visible. And what happens is people are getting choked to death by these invisible beings, and their spinal cords and their brains are getting sucked out of their bodies. They don't show that, of course, because it's 1958, but they explain that's what's happening. Eventually, when they feed off the atomic energy from this Air Force base, which is where this movie is based, the creatures become visible. They use stop motion animation to show them, and they also use real models to show these creatures, and they're very cool looking. Very interesting. They look like a brain with antennas sticking out of the top of the brain, and then the tail is like the spinal cord that inches along, sort of like an inchworm, and it might go along the ground or up a tree or even leap through the air at you and attack you. And like this guy here, there's the creature, there's the brain, there's the antenna, and there's the spinal cord wrapping around this guy's neck. Now, the highlight of the film is the last 15 minutes where you have the main characters stuck in this house. They're boarding up the windows, and the creatures are trying to come in. And they even, one of the little spindly arms comes through the boards, picks up a hammer, and starts banging on the boards to get in there. And so they're trying to kill these creatures. And when they do kill them, it's surprisingly gory because they kill them with an axe or they shoot them with a gun, and you can see this blood kind of sputtering out like that. It makes a really weird noise. And even when they finally realize they have to shut down the control room of the atomic energy, they all die, and they're used. They get into like this gelatinous puddle of yuck on the ground. So it's pretty interesting, pretty cutting edge special effects for that time. In fact, when I first saw this film on TV when I was a kid, I remember the creatures. I had no idea what the film was called until many, many years later. The cast includes Marshall Thompson. He was the guy who was in a lot of these types of films, also in a lot of TV. The director, Arthur Crabtree, I've never heard of. Made a lot of films, nothing of real note. This is a Criterion Collection disc. It's only available on DVD, not on Blu-ray, at least for now. It includes a very nice booklet. And there's some extra features on here, a little background about the film, some posters and lobby cards, pictures of those vintage stuff from the film, and a commentary. And you can rent this, you can buy it, you can also stream this on the Criterion channel. It's not really a scary film, I don't think, but it's just so unique with the creature effects that it's definitely worth looking at, and it's surprisingly gory, like I said, for its time. The second and far better film I want to recommend for your Halloween viewing is Eyes Without a Face. This is from 1960. Once again, beautiful black and white. It's about 90 minutes long. It's in French with English subtitles. You know, I saw this once many years ago. I think I recorded it off the television and made a big impact on me, and then I bought it, but I hadn't watched it again. I just kind of wanted to preserve that memory of it until last night when I watched it again, and it held up very well. This is about this brilliant surgeon who causes a car accident, and his daughter's in the car, and her face is totally disfigured. So now, out of guilt and because of love for his daughter, he tries to give her a new face by whatever means possible. The director was Georges Franju. I'm sure I'm not saying that right. He made a film named Judex, which I haven't seen, but it's supposed to be very good. And he's also very famous for being the co-founder of the Cinémathèque in France, which is their national film archive. The screenplay was by Pierre Boulez, who also wrote the screenplay for Diabolique, very good film, and the great classic Vertigo. Now, the doctor's secretary, she stalks young women that look like the doctor's daughter and brings them home. They drug her, and then they put her on the operating table, and they cut around her face, and you see a little blood coming down, and then they put clamps all along her face, and they give her a literal facelift until what you see underneath is kind of blurred out, but you see a bloody face and there's 2 eyeballs sticking out. Well, when they showed this at the Edinburgh Film Festival, several people in the audience fainted. And so when it came to America as a double bill film, they cut that part out, or they edited it somehow where it wasn't quite so graphic. And it is rather disturbing. Now, the daughter walks around with this really odd mask on throughout the film, like she's in a daze, and she usually wears this nightgown, these very thin arms. There's a picture of her there from the booklet. So the mask is very odd looking, and just the 2 holes cut out for her eyes. It's a very good performance by the actress too, by the way. And the doctor, her father, has removed all the mirrors so she can't see what she really looks like by taking the mask off. And she just kind of lays around all the time. She really wants to die. She knows there's no future for her. And when they finally do the face transplant on her, after several days, her real flesh starts to reject the transplant, and her new face just starts deteriorating, making her even more depressed. So she's a very sympathetic character. And the interesting thing is, her father, the surgeon, and the secretary are all quite sympathetic. They're not stereotypical mad doctors and crazy-eyed people. They're very normal, good-looking people that are just doing this awful thing to these young women. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the cinematographer. I never heard of him, but his name is Eugene Schuften. He worked on the great Fritz Lang silent film Metropolis, and he also worked on the Paul Newman film, The Hustler. This is a beautifully shot film. Portions of it are very surreal, very dreamlike, expressionistic, but it's not so weird that you don't follow what's happening. It's a very cleverly constructed story. This is a Criterion Collection disc. On this disc, you get a short documentary the director made before this called Blood of the Beasts. It's about slaughterhouses in Paris. I lasted about 2 minutes because I don't want to see animals being slaughtered, and that's basically a lot of what it is, I assume, because I didn't watch it. But what I saw was quite graphic and not for me. And there's also an interview with the director, there's an interview with the screenwriter, and there's a commentary, some other things. This is the DVD. You can also buy it on Blu-ray. You can rent this, and you can also see this on HBO Max and on the Criterion channel. It might be under the French title, which I'll put down here because I'm sure I can't pronounce it right. It's Les Yeux Sans Visage. And this is classic horror. It will stay with you. It's very haunting, very creepy, and also very sad. So those are my recommendations for your Halloween viewing. Hope you like this one. Feel free to leave a comment down here at the bottom or a suggestion. Feel free to leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. Otherwise, I thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.